episode of Dave's Video Graveyard contains spoilers and naughty words. Listener discretion is advised.
Have you ever bought or rented a videotape that wasn't quite right? It may have been a pirate copy.
Ratings advice. Use it. It's on every...
We're going streaking!
Dave's Video Graveyard.
That guy in a little coat.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm not a smart man.
Shut up! One tubby.
What's wrong with him?
My first thought would be alive.
Why so serious?
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf!
Of all the radio shows in the world, this is definitely one of them. Dave's Video Graveyard on 100.5 Wowfm.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
It is 100.5 Wowfm, Dave's Video Graveyard. An absolute pleasure to be with you for Monday. Shout out to Jason taking us through with a lovely rendition of the 6 to 8 show. He will be back next Monday. Now, this evening is somewhat of a special occasion. It is the first guest choice special for 2022 because, peek behind the curtain, tonight's episode was supposed to happen on the 10th of January, but all thanks to our special sponsor of the show, Spicy Cough at the time, it did not happen, but it is happening tonight, and it is the first guest choice special that we're getting through of the year, so let's make it a good one. Of course, you can join in the conversation at any time. Dave's Video Graveyard on Wowfm on all your social media, and of course, you can send text messages in to this evening's guest and myself. The number is 0493 291 005. That's 0493 291 005. Now, my guest this evening, we are joined by a guest. Finally, it is time to have a guest that is almost as attractive as I am. I am joined by local model Jade Addie. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, for those not in the know, let us know a little bit about yourself.
Just a local model. Nothing too special, I don't think. I don't know.
So, how long have you been doing it? And what was the trajectory? How did you get into it?
I used to work in fashion. I'm also a jewellery designer and maker. So, yeah, all things creative. And, yeah, just evolved into the world of modelling and photography, photo shoots.
So is there more to life than being ridiculously good looking? So this evening... Trust me, I know that one way too well. So this evening we are going to be going through your 10 all-time favourite films. How hard was it to pick 10?
It was a bit tricky, and there's probably some crazy ones in there that people don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
What about television? Is that something that interests you outside of movies, or are you more of a movie watcher or a TV watcher?
These days, yeah, more of a movie watcher. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I like a single serving where it's like, sit down, watch it, I'm done. Yeah. I don't have to watch an entire series. So, yeah, so tell us, how did you get into modelling? Like, how did you make that step? Make it up. No,
literally, working in the fashion boutiques and stuff, you're front of house and you're manning their social media channels, and, you have to get used to being in the spotlight, I suppose. And then it just went from there. It was, I got a brand ambassadorship, and then it kind of evolved, and, yeah, it just keeps happening. So it's a good.
And in a perfect world, where would you like to go with it? What is for you the top of the pinnacle with modelling? Other than being on this show, sorry. I'll make sure, I don't want to double up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought I was there, Dave.
Yeah, that's it. You're at the top. It's all, I'm sorry, but life is downhill after this evening. So, yeah, no, is there something that you haven't told anyone, but it's something you'd love to achieve when it comes to modelling?
I don't tend to like to say out loud what my next move is.
Each to its own. That's fine. That's fine. Awesome. I'm much the same until I'm like, oh, that's not going to work. I'm glad I didn't say that out loud. Awesome. So you've got a lot of very varied selections on tonight's thing. What about music? What interests you when it comes to music and stuff?
I'm probably a bit varied there as well. I am heavily into trance music. And EDM styles.
Well, that is awesome because as you can see, we brought in some glow sticks for you this evening. Unfortunately, there's no strobe, but I will just turn the lights on and off.
Okay, that'll be good.
It's just going to get annoying before it gets interesting. No, that's good. So, are you inclined to go to like a live trance gig, or it's just something you listen to most? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, where do you go? Because that's a world I don't know about. What do you? Do you have some favourite places, or are they still around because we're living in a different world?
Yeah, the Adelaide scene has been very quiet for a very long time, unfortunately. HQ used to be all right.
Yeah.
But obviously that's no longer existent. So, Melbourne's pretty good. Yep. They seem to, as it is with everything, the other states will pull the big names before we will, which is unfortunate. And
because this is obviously an audio medium, no one realises you're actually wearing big raver pants, and you've got your hair in some dreadlocks, and you got the whole cyber goth thing going on. So that's great. So when's the last time you got to really unleash and have like a full night of trance? Do you have any times that happened?
God, not since last year. With COVID, it hasn't been since last year. Yeah.
Was that locally or you headed interstate for that one?
Had a few locally and, went to Melbourne for, some good gigs. So
awesome. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. You never thought about doing it yourself? Creating a bit of your own trance music?
No.
You seem so unsure. I feel like that's what you're not telling us out loud is
definitely.
You want to be a trance artist, Move over, pendulum. It's time for Jade. No, awesome. Well, this evening, of course, we're going through your all-time favourite movies. It's a very, very varied list. You're breaking the DVG rules. You've got a black and white movie on there, which I'm not a fan of. So I'm assuming...
They did release it in a colour version, though.
Oh,
did
really?
You know that? Yeah.
They colorised it.
Yeah.
So that must be a Turner Classic Movies move. Nice. Because I watched the trailer and I'm like, I'll file this one under not for me. I was like, I'm probably not going to... Because I like to look into it and watch a lot of the movies and whatnot on the list. And I was like, I'm going to skip that one. It does look very interesting. And, of course, we will get into it this evening. But I think we should play some music first. And we'll come back very shortly with a high-fidelity quiz. You're listening to 100.5 Wowfm.
Relax, don't do it when you want it.
What is this?
A center for ants?
What? How can we be expected to teach children to learn how to read if they can't even fit inside the building? The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
Talking movies on the radio. This is Dave's Video Graveyard on 100.5 Wow FM.
It is the guest choice special of my very special guest, local model. It is Jade Addie's evening, and we are going through her 10 all-time favourite films. But before then, it is time for the high-fidelity quiz, named so because it was stolen from another Wow FM show. So, Jade, are you ready?
I hope so.
Just say no, and we'll be like, all right, time to go home.
Yeah.
What was your local video store growing up?
Movie Land at Ranella.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Do you have some strong memories of it? Anything that stands out?
Oh, I think it was just the Friday night experience, Get to pick some snacks and...
How great was it that without planning, you always saw someone at the local video store? Like, even if you were trying to avoid them, or you were dressed like you'd just come from a house fire, and they're like, oh, hey, how are ya? Did you have any deals that stood out, like, the 10 for $10 and all that stuff?
Yeah.
All right, so pretend you're 10 years old. What was your favourite TV show?
Beverly Hills 90210. Hard Lane.
Good answer. What a great answer. You're in the right place. This is a Beverly Hills 90210 safe zone, so it's all good. What about favourite ice cream as a kid?
Or actually pistachio gelato or a choc mint.
Boring. They're not even trashy. They're nice. They're classy. I see. We have a classy individual on our hands. Favourite junk food? It looks as though you've never eaten junk food, just quietly, but favourite junk food?
Tasty tubes and a Mars bar.
Oh, Tasty Tubes are, they're the Wish version of Cheezels in my opinion. When everyone went crazy when they returned, I was like, you guys are wrong. They are lesser Cheezels. What was the second thing?
A Mars bar.
Mars bar.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can't beat a Mars bar.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
It helps you work, rest, and play. It's so good. I love that they can't market it that way anymore because it's like back when they were like, this cereal's Iron Man food. It's like, no, it's got more sugar than any other one. Very funny. Favorite book as a kid?
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, that's a classic as well. What about your favorite toy?
Probably a Barbie doll. But if we were playing Matchbox cars, then I had to have the Pontiac Trans Am.
Nice. I'm a huge fan of the Pontiac, and it's not because of Smokey and the Bandit. It's and it's not from Knight Rider either. It's actually from the movie Son-in-Law, especially the one with the Firebird logo on the bonnet.
Yeah.
There was one in my local hometown, and it had so many mechanical problems, but it was still considered one of the coolest cars in town. You ever been in a Trans Am?
No.
Oh, really? We'll put that on the list.
Yeah, if anyone
on
would
the
like to
secret
take-
list. The secret list you can't tell anybody
Anyone
about.
out there with the Trans Am, Pontiac Firebird,
Shout out. And where can people find you, most importantly?
Mainly
For all the stalkers out there listening. What's your home address and what's your where do you keep the spare key?
No, I'm on Instagram just as Jade Addie model. Underscores in between.
Clever
there.
name.
Yeah, keep it simple. And Facebook, same.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm sure they'll find you.
I'm sure they will.
That wasn't meant to sound threatening, but it did sound it. Who goes on your Mount Rushmore of actors or actresses?
Okay.
Or both?
Keanu Reeves, Johnny Depp, Sean Penn, and Matt Damon.
Yeah, right. Just quietly, you have a type. And what era of Johnny sits hardest in your heart? Is it young Johnny?
Every era.
Wow. The temperature changed in this room when you said that. My goodness. And I'm not, not to spoil anything this evening, but I believe that you, of all people, would be able to make that call because you know some obscure Johnny Depp movies that I've never heard of.
I know.
And then I was like, okay, fair enough. But she seems to be a fan. Because one of your original choices before you changed it, you said just trying to find naked pictures of Johnny Depp on the internet. And I was like, that's not even a movie. What about, do any actresses make your list if you were to make a second? If you were to add extras on? Or you don't want any ladies around your Johnny?
I couldn't think of, I know that there's many probably, but I couldn't think of anyone that stood out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Would you prefer to watch a movie at home or at the cinemas?
Generally these days at home.
And is it because of the wearing pants thing? Because that's usually the answer.
That is a bit of a, it's restrictive, isn't it?
It is. But in saying that, I live my life free, so no pants at the cinemas. It doesn't matter. I paid to be here. You didn't, Food of choice at the cinema?
Popcorn and Maltesers.
Nice. You don't do that. We've heard the new caveman thing of mixing them together.
No.
Yeah, people are pouring their chocolate into the hot popcorn and eating the melted. I'm such an old man. My brain instantly goes to the people that work there that have to clean up. And I'm like, so there's a chocolate handprint on everything in that building thanks to the people that do that. Does the Mars bar get a run at the cinemas? You're going to pay $8 for a Mars bar for the cinemas? Good times. Name an actor or an actress, no judging, that you'd like to spend a night with, and you decide what to do. And I'm not a clairvoyant, but let me try. Perhaps Johnny Depp?
Spot on.
Oh, I don't know what it was. There was something about the way you answered that question before where you did a love heart in the air as you said his name and you started to sweat. Film that didn't get a sequel that you think deserves one?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, right.
Because I want to see Cameron go wild after.
Peek behind the curtain and we'll talk about this evening. That is my least liked movie of all time.
Oh.
But I don't take it away from anyone else. Isn't it funny? There's movies where Cameron shows up still, or the actor that plays Cameron shows up. I'm like, that's Cameron from Ferris Bueller. He's never anything else to me. Doesn't matter what he was in. Watching Speed again recently, I'm like, there's Cameron from Ferris Bueller. Which movie freaked you out as a kid?
The Candyman.
Yeah, that's a good answer. You haven't bothered with the newer?
No. Couldn't look in a mirror after that one.
I still, to this day, however, that was like 1993, I think Candyman came out. I still haven't done it. I believe in, not openly, but I'm scared of aliens and I'm scared of the Candyman. So yeah, that's a good answer. If you could get a TV show or movie from your childhood to be rebooted, what would it be?
I couldn't actually come up with an answer because I like the originals. I like them to stay that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I remember them.
You're like, just re-release 21 Jump Street, the Johnny Depp era. That'll be fun. Just put it back on TV. Yeah, 24 hours. Name one famous person you would like to hit with a hammer. You don't have to give your reasons.
Donald Trump.
Hey, you don't need to give your reasons either in that case. That answers itself. If you had the power to make the entire world watch one film, what would it be? Would you use this power for evil or for good?
I picked Into the Wild.
Yeah, right. That's an interesting choice. I'm sure we'll expand on that one this evening. If you could add your favourite fictional character, or Johnny Depp in your case, to any film, what would the film be and who would you choose?
Jessica Rabbit.
In everything?
In The Matrix.
That would be brilliant.
Just for something random.
Put her in anything. I'll watch that. It's weird and creepy, but I'll watch it. How many movies would you watch in a good week?
3 to 4, probably. Yeah.
That's a good rate. That's good. Have you seen anything lately that stood out?
Nothing recently that has really captured me.
Yep.
But yeah.
Just because Johnny's
I'm
not.
open to suggestions. Yeah, well,
like, where's Johnny at?
Where's Johnny then?
You read the cast list. There's no Johnny Depp in this. This movie sucks. Who would play you in your biopic?
Isla Fisher.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I definitely. Yep.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Nice. And before we go, this is the questions you don't really know about.
Oh.
Now, this is a would you rather.
Throwing me now.
Yeah. There's no Johnny Depp in it, I don't think, either. Harry Potter or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Cher or Dolly Parton?
Oh, God, neither.
Well, it's saying that Cher had her whole dance revival in the early 2000s, so that's close to you, I think. Selma Hayek or Pamela Anderson?
Probably Pammy.
Lord of the Rings or Back to the Future?
Back to the Future.
Brad Pitt or Leo DiCaprio?
Brad Pitt.
And which Brad Pitt? Because you were pretty confident there. What came to your brain when you said Brad Pitt? What are you picturing? Is it him with his shirt off in Fight Club? It is, isn't it?
Anything with his shirt off.
You're like, it is now. Shawshank Redemption or Stand By Me?
Shawshank Redemption.
Good answer.
I just tripped over the words there, but yeah.
That's
let's
fine.
go with that.
Some of those are words. Actually, this is a waste of a question, but here we go. Edward Scissorhands or Beetlejuice? Do you need some thinking music?
Edward Scissorhands?
I wonder why. Predator or Terminator?
Oh, Terminator.
Good answer. Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Good answer. Sandra Bullock or Julia Roberts?
Julia Roberts.
That's for who's the most boring. White milk or full cream white milk? The Witches or Matilda?
Matilda.
The Lost Boys or Interview with the Vampire?
Oh. Well, we'll go Interview with the Vampire because,
Because you're a perv. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Batman or Spider-Man?
Batman.
Will Ferrell or Adam Sandler?
Adam Sandler.
Do you have a favourite?
It depends on the movie. They
Yep.
both had,
Yeah.
both had good roles.
Aggro or Cheese TV?
Aggro.
Good answer. Pizza or burgers?
Pizza generally.
Pineapple.
Mm-hmm.
All right, see you later. Thank you for joining us. That's Jade's special this evening. Ninja Turtles or Ghostbusters?
Oh, I did like the Ninja Turtles.
Good answer. Aliens or Terminators?
Terminators.
Grease or Rocky Horror?
Grease.
Pulp Fiction or Goodfellas?
Pulp Fiction.
Fight Club or Seven?
Fight Club.
The Lion King or Aladdin?
Lion King.
Forrest Gump or Titanic?
Oh, Forrest Gump all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Titanic
both-
went on for way too long.
My kids recently watched it, and I've never been so proud and realised how similar my oldest son is, because it got to the drawing topless scene, and he said, so it's pronounced Titanic. And I was like, best joke I've ever heard. I said, too bad this movie's so old that I'll never get to make it, but now I have.
No, you have.
E.T. or Jurassic Park?
E.T.
Very good answer. And finally, the last question, as we find out all about you as a person. If you could, I'm just trying to think where I've put it, which folder it's in. So, yeah, maybe not. Cannot see it there. So bear with me. If you could have, for your movie role, obviously your biopic, what would the song be for the opening titles? What is the theme song of your life?
Stay by Ben Gold featuring Savan.
Yeah, right. And that's a big one for you?
Yep.
Nice. And I cannot find where I've put it in the folder. So I'm nailing it. Absolutely nailing it this evening. I might play another song and we'll come back and I'll try to find where I saved that. This is DVG. Of course, you can join in the conversation. I believe we had a few messages. Dean Whedon, shout out to him listening in Melbourne.
Hey, Dean.
Is there anyone else you wanted to give a shout out to other than Johnny Depp?
Is he listening?
Yeah, he listens every week. He gets quite hurt feelings, though. Anytime someone picks Beetlejuice, he's like, oh, okay, I understand. Is it something I did, something I said? Any shout-outs?
Not at the moment, but leave it with me.
Give it time. Give it time. You make up some friends. You have some pretend friends by the end. Let's get into the music. This is DVG. The lovely Jade Addie joins us this evening, and we're going through her 10 all-time favourite films. And right now, we are travelling back to the year of 1986, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Why have you chosen this terrible movie?
I know it's not a favourite of yours, Dave. We've discussed that.
Each to its own. I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum. If you like terrible movies, that's fine. Why have you chosen this movie? What does it mean to you?
I think he just... Well, he was probably not like me at all. I was probably more like his sister, but my brother was probably more like him. But no, I like the fact that, he just plays by his own rules.
Yeah.
Does what he wants to do. Lives life to the full.
Yeah.
It's good quality.
Made for $5 million, this movie was an absolute blockbuster hit. It made $70 million, one of the highest grossing films of 1986. It basically follows, it's a comedy, and it follows Ferris Bueller and basically his adventures in suburban Chicago to pretend to be sick for a day, and the snowball effect that has.
Yeah.
He makes up, because he's such a popular student, he makes up a condition that he has, and everyone at school believes it and thinks he's actually dying, so that they rally behind him. His sister, Jeannie, is convinced that he's not sick.
Yep.
And his parents have basically let him stay home, and Principal Rooney, Ed Rooney, is doing everything within and outside of his power to prove that Ferris isn't sick. How often have you watched this? Is this a childhood movie that you've just watched non-stop?
Yeah, it always comes back out every now and then. There's a lull in something to watch. It's, go through the classics that we have, and yeah.
Does it ever make you want to, send a Ferrari careening down a hill?
No.
Ah, man, this movie there's something about a character that's like so precocious and just so full of themselves. I think because I'm full of myself, I clash, and I do not like Ferris Bueller whatsoever. I did watch it a lot as a kid. Highlight for me was Twist and Shout from the Beatles at the pageant. What's your favourite part of the film?
Yeah, it's probably a top scene for me as well. Yeah, whereas and at the baseball, and it's like
it's the ultimate day off because anytime I've ever called in sick, I've just lied in bed and watched TV. But he makes the absolute most of a day off. So is this you admitting to everyone that you love to call in sick? Is that why you've chosen this movie?
No, because I was the opposite, I think. So it was probably that maybe I wished I was a bit more like that.
It was a bit of a scare. You're more of a Cameron type.
Yes.
We were talking before we started this evening. Cameron just pops up in every movie ever. It's so bizarre.
And yet he's still Cameron.
And a young, pre-horrible Charlie Sheen playing the... apparently he's a bit of a method actor. He's meant to play a guy that's been up for 3 days. So true to Charlie Sheen form, he just stayed up for 3 days partying. I believe it was one of his first credited film roles as well, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
So you do revisit this one a fair bit?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's get into the next movie on your list. This is DVG. Of course, you can join in the conversation whether you send a text message 0493 291 005, or of course, you can send us a message on any of the social medias. This is DVG. In 2007, the film Into the Wild was released. It's an American biographical adventure drama, and it was directed by Sean Penn, of all people. It's an adaptation of the 1996 book, made for a somewhat meager $20 million, went on to make $56 million, featuring music by Pearl Jam's Eddie Vedder. We are talking about the film Into the Wild, chosen by Jade Addie. Why did you choose this movie?
It's an absolute favourite for me.
How many photo captions has this movie inspired for you? Are you one of those people?
Sometimes I can be.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just I think the fact that Chris McCandless actually did that journey and died as a result of doing that journey is a moving thing. I've also watched the documentary where Sean Penn actually took his son to complete the same journey.
To do it, yeah.
And
did Sean Penn give all his money to charity for it? Make it legit, really stick with it. So for those that don't know, after graduating from uni, top student athlete Christopher McCandless abandons his possessions, gives all his money and his savings to charity, and hitchhikes to Alaska to live in the wilderness. Along the way, he encounters a series of characters that shape his life, but he also makes a lot of bad decisions on the trip, and it's, as with any award-winning drama, it's somewhat grueling at times.
Yep.
How did you discover this film? Is it something where you knew the story before seeing it, or...?
No, I didn't know the story at all before seeing it, and yeah, I'm a fan of Pearl Jam as well, so the soundtrack, definitely had me with Eddie Vedder,
Did you get a good crying in this film? Is this a crime movie?
I'm not much of a crier. Yeah. When it comes to crying for movies, sorry.
Cold hard bitch. Just making notes, just filing that away in my book. Yeah, I actually haven't seen this one, but I will admit when I started researching it, the amount of times people had quoted it, T-shirt designs, like it is a big part. The main image that comes up is him sitting on top of the bus, and the bus, along with is it like life's only an adventure if you share it with someone, or whatever the main quote of that is. How often do you watch this one, or is it one of those one and done type movies?
No, I do have it on DVD.
I didn't know you were doing so well.
Oh. So it comes out every now and then, but.
And what's the vibe of the doco? Is it very somber or is it very inspirational? Because that's how the movie comes across.
It is quite inspirational, and I suppose because his son's the same age as Chris was when he actually made the trek. So it's kind of, you're viewing it almost through his eyes, and how it is literally that grueling. There are times where they think they're not going to make it, and they've got crews with them, but and they're like, how did he do this alone?
And just looking now at what an incredible cast this film has. You've got the late great recently passed William Hurt in there. Vince Vaughn turns up in this movie. Catherine Keener, who I only just saw in the new Ryan Reynolds film. Kristen Stewart from Twilight, and of course Emile Hirsch starring as Chris McCandless. Zach Galifianakis from the Hangover movies is in this movie. It's quite a cast for this movie that I didn't know too much about. Just realising that it was directed and written by Sean Penn.
Yeah.
Nice. Is that part of the reason he gets on your list, or is it more of a physical attraction
No,
thing?
that's part of the reason. And I don't know, every movie he's in, he seems to just grasp it, and he's never been one to win like the big, Oscars and Emmys and things like that for his roles, so.
Definitely. Who would you recommend this for? Fans of what kind of movie? Is there a certain subsect of like film watchers you think, who would love this? Fans of, if you like Forrest Gump, you'll like this, or if you like, is there something else you'd liken it to?
I don't know, really. It's, I think it's, well, for me, I see it as a movie everyone should sort of watch at least once. You might hate it, but, you might also take something from it that, one of his theories is that you'll never find new places if you're always following a map. So sometimes you have to leave a map behind and explore. So, yeah.
Nice. So have you given all your stuff away to charity yet? Is it time to hitchhike? No? Not quite ready? Not ready? No, well, fantastic. I'll definitely put that on the list of films to check out. What would you give this movie out of 19?
Oh, I would say, that's a weird number, 119.
Because it makes no sense.
Okay.
Because art is subjective, so putting a rating is so silly, and that's the whole point of the 19. What would you give it out of 19?
I would go with probably 15.
15.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment. Usually everyone just goes straight to the top, but I appreciate your honesty. Cold heart and honest. All right, let's get into some more music. You mentioned you like this band, so let's hear a little bit of Pearl Jam. This is DVG. 2014, Keanu Reeves wasn't on the strongest run of films at the time. However, one little action film come along and became one of the biggest action franchises of the modern day. We are talking about John Wick from 2014. Jade Addie, my very special guest. It is one of her all-time favourite films. Why did you choose this movie, other than being a pervert for Keanu Reeves?
Exactly. Keanu Reeves, and he's being a badass.
He is. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing more cathartic in a movie than when someone does something wrong to a dog and they get what's coming to them.
Exactly.
How often do you visit this? And do you love all three, or is it just the first one? What stands out most about these films for you?
Love all three, but you can't beat the first one. Yeah.
Agreed. Pulls at your heartstrings. You basically find an ex-hitman comes out of retirement to track down the gangsters that not only killed his dog but stole his car, which was everything to him. He got out of being a hitman because his wife had passed away, and as she passed away, to help him grieve, she bought this dog, which some Russian gangsters decide that they're going to steal the car and kill the dog, and it all starts there. 3 movies later, just check my pulse. Yeah, I'm good. 3 movies later, he still hasn't stopped. He's turned his back on the Continental. My goodness, what a franchise. How did you find this movie? Because I knew nothing about this when I first saw it. I hadn't heard anything about it at the time. Saw it and I was like, this has changed. Because action from about 2010 for about 5 years, action got very boring. We got, some very lackluster films. I'm talking like things like the A-Team movie and stuff like that. Action had kind of lost its shine.
Yeah.
But then you get this ultra-violent, very classy, very stylish-looking film, and everything started copying it. There are so many movies now that are basically John Wick with different actors. Liam Neeson's getting in on it again. I even recently saw a movie with Nicolas Cage getting his pig back that was very similar to this movie. How many times have you seen these movies?
Oh, God, quite a few. Yep. That's me, Pervy again.
Nice. Pervy McPervs over here. Yeah, it is fantastic, the first film. Always great to see John Leguizamo turn up as his mate that rings and tells him these guys have got your car. And it just goes, it gets bigger and bigger as the movies go on. Considered a bit of a renaissance for Halle Berry, the most recent one as well.
Yeah.
And there's 3 more on their way.
I know.
So it's going to be good.
Yeah.
He's lost his fingers, spoiler alert. It's going to be good. I do love these movies. Like I said, it's always good when a movie comes along and it changes all the other movies that are coming out, because action had to really step up and be this good, because the fight choreography, the weapons, it's one of those movies where, a real gun nut can sit down and watch it and go, well, he's fired this many. It's like realistic.
Yeah.
Like for every bullet he fires, he has to reload once he runs out of bullets, which action movies quite often don't care about that. And for you get to see Keanu Reeves in many a slim fit suit.
Yeah. Classy.
How long have you followed Keanu? Like what are some tentpole films of his that you've loved?
Oh, everything back to like Point Break.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Even, Bill and Ted wasn't great, but
yes, it was.
Well, I mean, but not for looks wise.
What about? Did you ever see the 1994 Bram Stoker's Dracula? And he tried to do an English accent, and he just horrid the accent he puts on. It is so funny because it's just his voice, and it is so far from what it should be, because he's playing Jonathan Harker in the Dracula story, and it is laughable. But it's so good to see his career come back because of this. So we got like this. He then made a sequel to Bill and Ted. He then made a sequel to The Matrix. It seems like he's loving his franchises nowadays. He was the cover and one of the main skins in the Cyberpunk game. He sold a lot of video games just with his face. And he also won your heart over. So that's always beautiful.
Indeed.
Now, we mentioned earlier that you, of course, are a model. Where would be the best place to get in contact? Obviously, we'll be putting up a link tree to all your work and stuff. So you've got Instagram, Facebook. If people just look up Jade Addie, they can find you. Should be good. Let's jump into a little bit more music this evening. Sadly, no trance. Do my best, but I had a look and there was none in my entire folder. But let's get back into a little bit of music. This is DVG. Despite its title, it is not a movie about going to op shops. We are talking about 1997's Goodwill Hunting. Jade Addie, why have you chosen this movie? What do you love about it? What do you hate about it? Tell us about this movie.
I think it's got such a great cast, and I think the way that he challenges Robin Williams' character the whole way through, just, bringing out the best in each other, like while quietly probably driving each other insane. But
yeah, I've always loved the story of this movie, and it's one of those movies, much like when we mentioned earlier Shawshank Redemption. Whenever this is on free-to-air TV, which is quite often, I can't help but find myself getting sucked back in and watching the entire film. And I'm like, great, it's midnight on a Sunday. I'm supposed to be working tomorrow. Great. This movie was made for $10 million, went on to make $225 million. It is considered a modern-day classic. It won Robin Williams an Oscar for a dramatic role, which no one thought was possible. I just love, this was written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, because they both considered that no one was making the kind of movie they wanted to be in. So they said, well, let's write it and get it made. And it just went on and on and on. And, of course, Gus Van Sant, a very well-renowned film director. The music's by Danny Elfman from Oingo Boingo, or, did all the Batman movies and stuff, which is so bizarre because it is very subtle the way he's done this movie. Minnie Driver does an amazing job hiding her over-the-top British accent in real life. I think this movie's got a lot of heart. The ending's very, I'd say, poetic, and it's very deep. Is this one that you, because it is another long movie, of course, we mentioned earlier. Is this one you find yourself watching a lot?
Yeah, I think, it's Not as much as the others, but yeah, there's, I'm this bit the same. Whenever it's on, it's sort of like, yeah, you can definitely sit down and do that again. Like, it's just, it's got so much to it.
And it's so weird now because you watch modern day Ben Affleck or modern day Matt Damon and you see this and you're like, they were so young. I didn't do anything of note in my 20s and these dudes pumped out this film. They both play very well in this film. Got some amazing... This movie, Robin Williams will make you cry in this movie, which is always a positive. What would you give this one out of 19?
I reckon it'd definitely be up the top with the 19, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. That's very lovely. Very good for a movie without Johnny Depp too, which is usually your measurement. Anyway, let's check out the next film on your list. It is Dave's Video Graveyard. There we have the trailer for Beverly Hills Cop, the next film on Jade's list from 1984, one of the biggest and best buddy action comedy movies, directed by Martin Brest. And what a film it is. It started off Eddie Murphy's run as Axel Foley. He was one of the biggest actors on earth at the time. This movie was made for $13 million, went to make over $315 million. It is considered a classic. The theme song is just burned into everyone's memory. You cannot hear it without it. Was considered one of the first real blockbusters, and my goodness, what a movie this is. I think the second one's also fantastic. And then the third one is what's known as garbage, in my opinion. I'm not a fan of the third one. Why did you pick this movie? And I can definitely see someone that grew up loving Beverly Hills Cop, loving John Wick. There's definitely a trajectory between those films.
For me, my oldest brother is 9 years older than me, so it was more so.
So he's 30.
He used to hire it.
Right, so he's 30. Shout out to him.
He used to hire it, and I was probably well below the age that I should have been watching it. But no, Mum and Dad didn't really mind, so it was just, I don't know. I think that you were watching something you probably shouldn't have been.
Hey, that is, and part of the kids that we were growing up, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Our kids' movies weren't really kids' movies at the time. It's, revisiting a lot with my kids at the moment, and it's just like, wow, this is actually terrifying. These characters are actually in danger. It's fantastic. Whereas now it kind of feels very homogenized, for lack of a better term. This movie, because obviously 48 Hours come along with Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, and you got a lot of glimpses of the character that Axel F would become. This taught the entire world that if you put a banana in someone's tailpipe, the car breaks down, which is always good to learn when you're too young to know not to do it. This is a fantastic film. It is. I remember, much like yourself, watching it when I was too young to watch it, and it wasn't so much the violence. I don't think I'd heard so many F words when I first saw this movie. It is just non-stop, and it's fantastic. And I'll say a lot of 80s action is very cheesy when you revisit this. Because this is over-the-top violent at the time, you watch it now, it holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
And it's just sad that Eddie Murphy doesn't make good movies anymore.
Yeah.
It's absolutely sad. Do you like all three of them? Do you have any vibes for the second or the third?
Yeah, I like this. I like the second one as well. But yeah, then it was probably, I don't know whether it needed the third. Like,
it just felt
sometimes they produce too many in a series, and you just
100%. It just felt like they tacked it on at the last minute. So, yeah. Now we're going to talk about your next movie. Now we'll hear the trailer. This is a movie that I'm going to say gets talked about a lot on DVD, but there's no reason not to go into it. Let's hear from your next trailer. Heading back to one of the all-time biggest teen movies of all time, The Breakfast Club, made by John Hughes, famous for doing things like pretty much my childhood, the likes of Trains, Planes and Automobiles, Uncle Buck, the Home Alone movies, so many incredible films. But this one is often considered his first big classic. We're talking about The Breakfast Club from 1985. It is a coming-of-age teen comedy. It was made for $1 million, which you watch it, you would not know. There was a lot of favours called in, and it made over 51 times its budget, which is a pretty big deal for any movie. Still to this day, considered a classic by many. everyone sees the clever thing they did with this movie is they have all the characters represent a different part of, a different social clique at a school. And so everyone can watch and get a representation on screen by one of the different characters. So I guess the question is, who were you? Who was your conduit to this film, Jade? It's Bender, isn't it? You always walk around punching the air. You're the bad guy. You're wearing a trench coat right now. I can see it. I totally get it. The fingerless gloves give it away.
Yeah.
How often do you watch this one? Is this a movie growing up for you?
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, but yeah, definitely. Yeah, when I was younger, it was in the top picks of the weekly rentals.
And did you have to deal with many Saturday detentions when you were at school?
No, I didn't.
Were you I'm getting the vibe that you were a sneaky good girl and that no one knew how bad you really were. You hid it well. Part of that keeping everything inside that we were talking about earlier. Did you enjoy school? Was high school something that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I enjoyed school for the most part. I just knuckled down, did my work.
Straight. Nerd. This movie, do you like a lot of other John Hughes movies? So the likes of Uncle Buck, Home Alone, do all those movies stick out for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely Planes, Trains and Automobiles is,
And I remember last year, the most recent Halloween film came out, and Anthony Michael Hall from The Breakfast Club plays like an old, has-been, washed-out dude. He's like pretty big, he's balding, and he just looks terrible. And you put it next to how he looked in this movie, and it's like, oh, that's sad. What's this one out of 19 for you?
I'd probably go at maybe a 13. Yeah. There's some things that it probably needed to clarify a bit more for me, but,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's because you just couldn't. Like, what's this detention thing? I was such a good girl. I don't even understand what that's about.
Did that even happen?
Yeah. What's that about? I don't get it at all. It's not my thing. No, that's cool. I think this movie, I realised recently that because the way free-to-air TV now works, like back when I was younger, this movie was on all the time. But now because of free-to-air, all they want to play is the most recent movie they can.
Yeah.
You don't get, like, every midday of every school holidays, there was always movies. You'd always get this. You get Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, all those movies were constantly on high rotation. And now it's like, maybe 4 a.m. on a Sunday morning, they might put The Breakfast Club on or something. So it's a different world we live in, but definitely they earned their place as classics. And let's jump forward to the year of 1991 and hear the trailer for your next movie. 1991, not enough people have seen or know about this movie. It was coming off the wave of New Age cinema of the likes of Die Hard that changed the scene of... This is pretty much Die Hard in a high school.
Yeah.
A bunch of naughty rich kids are taken hostage by some terrorists. Back when, terrorists were the bad guys of the movies, not real life bad guys. And authorities can't get into the school, so it is up to the group of kids to fight back. This is a movie ripe for a remake. I think this could be made into an incredible modern day movie if they don't lean too hard on the setting of being a high school, of course. Starring Sean Astin from, everyone says Lord of the Rings, but for me it's Encino Man. Will Wheaton, Louis Gossett Jr. is great, which is always a good time. My goodness, this movie is fantastic. Why did you pick this one?
For that very reason. It's, I think, the unexpected setting and, there's those edge of your seat moments where they're nearly not going to make it back from, and he's running through the bathroom.
So you said that you didn't have any detentions at school. Did you have any terrorism at school? No, you didn't. You didn't deal with, because I'm sure that you were, you dealt with all problems you had at high school head on, and I'm guessing that terrorism didn't bother you.
No.
What's your favourite part of this movie?
I think, yeah, definitely that's the scene where they're, trying to get information outside to the police to tell them where everyone is and how they can help them. And you've got one of the guys that's got to get back in and he's, charging back through that bathroom and comes in and he's dripping wet because he's made it look like he's had a shower but really fell over.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic because, like, another element of the story is that all the rich kids' parents are someone very powerful and they're all important to, like, government contractors and stuff like that. We were just talking earlier about how, like, this isn't so much a kids' movie, but it is young teens are the main characters. They're legit in danger. There's some death in this movie. Yeah. There is some murder in this movie. This movie has never come up on DVD in its entire run, but really? that's criminally underrated, that movie. I've always had a soft spot, but unfortunately, like we talked about before we started this evening, there's about 10 movies called Toy Soldiers. So whenever you bring it up, everyone's like, do you mean the one about the high school? I'm like, yes. So this one was made for 10 million, only made 15 million. So it wasn't considered a massive hit, but definitely worth a revisit, I think. Like, yeah, just some of the movies. Like, it's from the director of, funnily enough, it was pioneering, Daniel Mannix Petrie Jr., he was a big part of Beverly Hills Cop, funnily enough. So you've got a flavour. Yeah. It's like you Johnny Depp of directing. He also did things like Turner and Hooch. So this was it was trying, like I said, Die Hard had come along in like 86 and it had changed the landscape of action films. And then this come along and it was kind of where do we go from now? Because, pretty much the entire 90s was, Under Siege is Die Hard on a battleship. This is Die Hard in a university. So it's definitely worth a visit. And I'm definitely revisiting this movie now that you've brought it up.
Cool.
You seem so excited.
I am.
As she swallows a yawn. Let's get into the next movie. It is, spoiler alert and warning, things may get a little bit pervy because we are in our Johnny Depp run of selections this evening. This is DVG. 2018 film Richard Says Goodbye, a.k.a. The Professor. It's a movie to make you cry on a Sunday afternoon. Jade, what is this movie about?
It's a professor basically gets diagnosed with terminal cancer and he kind of, I suppose, gets a bit of an F this attitude and just lets loose. And
decides he's going to spend his last 6 months on his own terms. Yep. Not for me. Putting this one in the not for me category. I don't like movies that make me cry. And this one looks like it may be one of those. But it does look like a lot of fun and very grueling. Obviously, Richard turns to like abusive behaviour with drinking and like other stuff like that. So, yeah, it looks grueling. But why did you pick this movie? Of all the Johnny Depps, what stood out about this one?
I think this one, it's a bit of an unexpected role for Johnny Depp. I only came across it recently and, yeah, for me, it, I suppose resonated. It's his philosophy is you've got one shot at life, maybe not for some people.
So this is
like
some of the other captions of your photos?
But, yeah, he's, he sort of seizes the moment, I suppose, and, yeah, that's what life should be about.
Definitely. I hadn't heard about this one, and it definitely looks grueling. And then you read up on it, and the amount of awards from film festivals it's like
super funny though.
Yeah,
really funny. Yeah.
No, well, that's good because as you know, Johnny's had a bad run with his relationship and everything, and losing the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and also getting written out of the Harry Potter franchise as well. So it's been rough. So it's good that he can still do the indie darling films that he loves, and they resonate with people such as yourselves. Yep. Awesome. Let's jump on to the next Johnny Depp one. We are talking about the Rum Diary. It is a film from 2011 starring Johnny Depp returning to working on source material written by Hunter S. Thompson. Jade Addie, you have added this to your list of favourite films of all time. Why do you like this movie?
I think because it just makes me laugh every time I watch it.
Yeah, right. What's it about?
He's a journo. He's a very heavy drinker.
Right. So it's not just a clever title.
And yes, there's a lot of rum that they make themselves. So it's, very potent.
Yep.
And there's obviously a bit of a romantic affair with his boss's lady that he probably shouldn't go there, but...
Is that how you live your life? You stay away from all your boss's ladies?
Definitely.
Nice. That's how you live your life. Seeing looking at the people in it. Amber Heard. I'm guessing you're not a fan. She's in this one. Johnny Depp, Aaron Eckhart. This movie looks pretty good. Everyone knows how well Johnny Depp did when he made Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, one of Hunter S. Thompson's most famous works, and obviously he's returned to the man that he was not only a huge fan of, but a very close friend before Hunter S. Thompson passed away.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp actually, have you seen Fear and Loathing? He's got the male pattern baldness because he plays Hunter S. Thompson. And Hunter S. Thompson actually did the shaving of his head, which I always thought was just an amazing element to have that done by. How did you find this one? Because I haven't actually heard of this one. Was this on a streaming service or it's something you found on DVD? Because I know you're partial to DVD.
I am partial to DVDs.
Each to its own. I still watch stuff on VHS. No judgment. I still watch VHS. There is no judgment at all.
I still like live streaming, but I like my services, but I have the classics that I enjoy regularly.
Oh, talking about classics, we got one coming up. You have to watch it on like a reel-to-reel, projected on a cave wall with a live piano player playing along to it. One of those off-reel. No. Do you revisit this one often? It seems somewhat obscure of a film.
It is an obscure film, and I think that's what I like. Like, sometimes movies can seem a bit like a spin-off from something else, whereas this kind of sits on its own very much.
Do you find yourself following the blockbusters of Johnny Depp? Like, do you watch all these big films as well, or you prefer his indies like this?
I like both. Yeah.
Because I find he's got a few movies that I consider fantastic, but they're too similar to other things. Like, I don't think he ever gets the credit he deserves for the movie Blow. I think he was amazing in that. Donnie Brasco is just as good as some of the other mobster movies that he was in. And, it seems like so many actors are measured differently than other actors. Like, if an ugly character actor was to do half the roles that Johnny Depp does, they'd be like, oh, wow, what an incredible role. But because it's Johnny Depp, it seems like everyone's like, oh, well, that's just to be expected. It's just what he does. And it's like, well, not really. In saying that, he does make some terrible movies.
Yeah.
Like, can you think of your least favourite Johnny Depp movie? I remember there's one called...
Off the top of my head, but...
I think it's called Transcendence, where he gets uploaded into a computer after he dies. Terrible movie. Terrible. And that's being nice. That's a 1 out of 19 from me. This movie I have not seen. I'll definitely, if I was to come across it, I would definitely watch it. But bizarre looking movie. And Hunter S. Thompson, so there's going to be a journo and there's going to be alcohol.
Yeah.
If not drugs.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's hear a little bit of music before we cover your final film here on DVG. 41 years before I was born, this film was released. We are talking about Arsenic and Old Lace from the year 1944. Jade, why did you pick this? I want to say movie, but I'd more so say moving, cave painting, I guess. Why did you pick this movie?
I kind of grew up with the classics. My grandpa was big on, obviously, this era, their classic movies. And for me, I loved Cary Grant movies back then. He was just energetic in every role. And, this one, I don't know, like two old ladies who basically...
poison everyone.
Yeah, they're basically serial killers.
Yeah, that's
it
pretty much,
looks sweet.
That's what I got from it. Yeah, no, it's looks like a time. It definitely looks like a tongue.
It's almost as much fun like watching you listen to the trailer.
To be like that. It's funny, like, that trailer is obviously a fan-made trailer from YouTube because the original trailer was just an orchestral score. There was no talking in it whatsoever. I was like, I got to find something to play. So that movie stars Cary Grant, Raymond Massey, Peter Lorre, Priscilla Lane, Jack Carson, Josephine Hull, Jane Adair. These are all names.
Yep.
These are all names. They're all names of people that have lived, that were in movies, specifically Warner Brothers, Arsenic and Old Lace. What can you tell us about this movie?
I think it's basically...
Or is it called a talkie because of how old it is?
I think that's basically it. They've got these two elderly aunts that raise him who are lovely, but they take pity on elderly men who have lost their partner or are living alone and will die alone. So they basically make their last night as peaceful as possible, I suppose.
Go out with a bang. Funnily enough, this looks like it informed a lot of the black comedies of the 90s. Like, there's so many movies that are about, like, poisonings and stuff like that and betrayal and all that and hiding. It looks like it informed, like, a lot of it. You know, let's just... Those comedies where it's like, all right, what are we going to do with the dead body? Like, you know, not quite the esteem of Weekend at Bernie's 1 and 2, but, you know, it looks pretty good. So what would you give that one out of 19?
On a movie level, it's probably a 12, but it's probably holds more for me because it was just that childhood memory of watching it.
Yeah. Meant a lot to you. Well, believe it or not, that's all the movies that are on your list for this evening. So what do you got coming up this week? Obviously, you have a lot going on with your modelling and stuff. So what's a typical week look like for you? So you have a few shoots on this week?
Yeah, I've been doing a few shoots this week and some more to come. So, yeah, that's always exciting.
And people can check that out over on your social media, of course.
Exactly.
And tell us once again how to find you online.
Instagram, Facebook as Jade_Addie_model. That's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking us through that. Of course, anyone that missed out on this evening's episode will be putting it up on social media sometime very shortly, and you'll be able to check that out in full on YouTube. And, of course, make sure you follow Dave's Video Graveyard on all your social media and, of course, Jade Addie on all your social media as well. We'll be putting up the link tree to all your stuff as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I hope you've had fun. It hasn't been too torturous. It's not like me having to watch a black and white movie, I hope. Hopefully that's how it's felt. Stick around, of course. Krez is in the studio, joined by Dee from Trash and Treasure. You're going to be taking you through a great night of music here on Wowfm. Of course, if you'd like to support Wowfm, head on over to wowfm.org, become a member or a supporter, whatever you'd like to do. It all helps us keep on air, keep bringing you the great shows that you're used to on Wowfm. Now, we're going to go out with a little bit of music. Jade, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks,
This
Dave.
is DVG.